Hey, what's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of 40 Under 40, sponsored by Urban Arts Magazine. Hey, we are acknowledging and honoring and featuring 40 of the most influential artists under the age of 40 doing some amazing work in the arts, theater, dance, music, film, television, visual arts, and literary. Hey, today our guest is no stranger to any of these worlds. I want you to help me welcome my buddy, my friend, Mr. Anthony McDonald. Anthony, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, Giles. How you been today?
I'm great. Hey, what's the weather like up? You're in Connecticut. What's the weather like up there?
It's clearing up finally now, but it was snowing this morning, so that's why I decided to keep myself in my apartment today and work from home.
Gotcha. We're going to get to Connecticut in a second, but I want to talk about who is Anthony McDonald? How did Anthony get started in the theater world?
By being fortunate to have parents that care about the arts, and they brought me to my first Broadway show in sixth grade to go see Phantom of the Opera.
Wow.
Which is still running to this day on Broadway.
Yes.
The longest running Broadway show. But the idea was something clicked in that moment. And I had then started this trajectory of being a part of the arts. So I, played the French horn for 6 years. I sang in the choir and did theater, of course. Started doing a little bit of dance at the end of my high school time. However, after that, I decided to somewhat go to the admin side of things when I went to Howard University for my bachelor's in fine arts, theater arts administration, in addition with a minor in business.
Nice.
So during those 4 years, then I did a lot of stage management, production work. Ended up studying abroad my junior spring semester in London, to where I could just kind of see the other side of the world and kind of once again what they do, how they do what we do differently in the world of theater. And it's kind of further cemented that this was a world that just was the right fit for me.
Nice.
Interned my junior summer with a couple of Broadway producers. Just kind of then really realizing that much more now that I was kind of in the world a little bit, that producers in many ways were the gatekeepers of the theater world, especially in the sense of the commercial theater world of Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And, just looking at the landscape and understanding things, realizing that I was one of very few people that looked like me doing anything in the admin world.
Right.
And so as most of us always have that crossroads of, do we just complain about it and that's it, or do we do something about it?
Right.
I decided to do something about it, thankfully, and I was able to be introduced to my future advisor at the Columbia Theater Management Producing Program.
Mm-hmm.
After I graduated. So it was literally just straight into from undergrad to grad school, and
No break in between. So it was just straight up, like right from Howard to Columbia.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Right when I graduated, and everything happens for a reason at the end of the day. That same junior summer, my advisor at Howard quit. And in turn, there was a big hole left from him in the department. And so we, as some of the senior admin students, then had to kind of pick up that slack in order to help the department as a whole continue doing what they do. And it just so happens that the Columbia kind of creative element that we had to supply was something that I was now actually doing on my own, which was kind of like a marketing / PR kind of plan.
Right.
That instead of me just making up something fictitious, I actually say, no, this is actually what I'm doing right now for my department.
Nice.
I'm getting up from the radio station. I'm putting ads in our newspaper. I'm getting articles written about the shows that we're doing.
Nice.
I'm finding new ways or working with other students in the graphic design department to create graphics for us. I kind of just did something that I didn't have training for, but just felt natural. And, one thing led to another, and I got into that program. And then the next 3 years was just a lot more of the same, was, interning in different offices on Broadway, primarily in the general management department, which is, as we would say in the theater world, the right hand to the producer.
Okay.
So they control the contracts. They do a lot of the negotiations for the designers, the directors, the playwrights. everything kind of stems down from them. So then it's company management, which is more the day-to-day business side of the production part of what we do in theater, which I also then began to dabble in, and ultimately found my way to house management / theater management, working for the Nederlander Corporation, Producing Corporation of America. It's a full title, but the Nederlanders, as we say on Broadway, who owns 9 theaters on Broadway right now, and then a slew of theaters all around the country. But I was fortunate to then start working with them after a few years after graduating and working in the business. And I was then the theater manager at the Gershwin Theater, where Wicked still plays to this day. And then I was transferred to the Minskoff Theater, where Lion King is.
Nice.
But doing those 2 roles and just really getting a chance to just be head first into the world of theater. Theater manager, you really do have purview over that entire space and all the different aspects that go along with it. So from the audience perspective of taking care of the audience to personnel, which technically I was paying at those 2 big theaters, I was roughly paying probably 160 people a week on my payroll.
Wow.
Because every department outside of the show falls under my purview. Ushers, ticket takers, porters, cleaners, the orchestra, all these different people all kind of report technically in some way to the theater manager.
Right. And I have a question on there. So I think when I was living in New York, there were only, I believe, 2 theater managers that were of color.
There probably were a few more.
Okay.
I can say, with the Nederlanders alone, we actually had 4 managers of color.
Okay.
2 Black men, myself included, a Black woman, and then a Latinx individual.
Okay.
Gentleman.
Okay.
We had 4 on our own. I know in the Shubert organization, they had at least 2, maybe 3 that I could think of. So there were a few of us.
Okay.
Again, out of 40 theaters on Broadway, maybe 50 jobs that do what I do, there maybe was 10 of us.
Okay. I mean, better than I thought it was.
The company manager side is probably worse.
Yeah.
There was actually in my thesis, I had actually kind of broken down the diversity kind of in many different ways on Broadway in a particular 2 seasons. And basically had about 3 or 4 company managers that would be primarily the only ones working on Broadway in a given season of maybe 20, 30 new shows opening. They would only be 2 or 3. And that was it.
Wow.
So there was, and this was now a decade ago, which is kind of crazy to say. Not much in company management has changed. There are some new faces and there are some old faces getting finally kind of a second chance. But it's taken this past year to happen for people to try to do better.
Wow.
To openly try and do better. We'll say it that way.
Yeah. So you were a theater manager, and then what was the next step after there? What is that Connecticut?
Technically, because or if you want to say COVID was the next step. Because March 2020, we saw it coming, but obviously none of us knew when it was going to hit, and when it hit. Yeah. I had kind of done some small things in the middle. Like I was a general management consultant, with a company called Shubert. Kind of for some of that time during that time, which it was kind of I was working with a company that in many ways, if and when they had a client that needed help in a particular department that then fell under the world of general management, they would then send them kind of to me then, so I could then kind of help them and provide them with some answers to their questions and the sort. So it was just something that kind of kept some of my time together as we were just in limbo.
Right.
I also was doing real estate anyway for past probably 2 years before that moment. So I was still in real estate in the middle of New York. because in theater, you have to have a couple hustles.
Yeah, you do, especially in New York.
It ain't easy to survive. So, but yeah, it took a full year. That October of 2020, this job description, came across me, and it kind of felt right.
Okay.
But it took 6 months to finally actually start the job.
Wow.
So, I applied in October, didn't hear anything until December. My references first.
Okay.
Then the recruiters spoke to me after the references.
Oh, wow.
Then I spoke to the CEO around like January. And I started talking to the board and the CEO a couple more times. A management challenge, which basically I wrote like a 5-page paper.
Okay.
Another talk with the board, and then finally March 15th, I started the gig. So
wow. So it's almost a year now. Wow, time flies.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I am closer now to a year versus saying, I just started X months ago.
Right.
So I can't say I'm very new anymore, but I'm still meeting new people every week, honestly.
So at the Shubert Theater of New Haven, is that the name of it?
Yeah. I mean, our I guess you could say DBA would be the Connecticut Association for the Performing Arts.
Okay.
Or Kappa. But as, once again, our name with a C.
C, correct.
But as our name, once again, as I said before, we are 107 years old.
Right.
The Shubert Theater name is pretty synonymous with us, so we go by the Shubert Theater.
Gotcha. So you jumped from a commercial world for-profit into a not-for-profit performing arts agency. How has that transition been?
It's been interesting. It's fun when my development director comes to me and says, "Hey, we got $15,000 today," and I'm like, "People just give us money?" Yes, we are fortunate that we have corporations in our community and just amazing individuals in our community that believe in what we're doing and they want to see us succeed.
Right.
So that, in that sense, it's different, of course, and it's kind of fun. But for me, as I even said to some of my members of my team this week, I know that at a certain point I'm going to have to rein myself in a little bit as far as spending, because I've come from the commercial world where also come from the commercial world in theaters that actually make money. Windscarf, Lion King, Wicked, where when we needed something in the theater, we didn't think twice about getting it. It didn't have to be fixed. We didn't think twice about, do we have the money to fix it? We just did it and kept moving. Coming into this theater, there were definitely quite a few things that needed some serious TLC. And with my particular aesthetic, and I think just also standard, things had to change. I see every house that I've worked in as an extension of myself. And at the end of the day, do I want someone to come into my home and for me to look unprepared, untidy? I'm supposed to feel proud about that. That's how I roll. So, we've fixed big issues where, we had walls that were cracked and bubbling from water damage that just hadn't been fixed in far too long. So we got that fixed. One of the first big projects I did was changing out all the carpet in the building, because that was 10 to 25 years old. 7 different styles of carpet. And I'm just kind of like, what's the point here, guys? And none of it looks good. We finally got that all kind of squared away now. Changing up ceiling tiles, something that sounds insignificant, but when you look up and you see yellow, grungy, ceiling tiles, once again, it's about presentation. It's making sure that when somebody walks into your home, it looks good. That was part of something that hadn't also probably been changed in 25 plus years.
And you guys are a Broadway touring house, right?
Very much so.
Yeah, so you get big shows
tomorrow.
Oh, beautiful, nice. The Carole King story, so when you get the big shows, it's expected that that one, there's a standard on backstage, and two, that there's a standard front of the house too.
Exactly.
So you're ensuring that both of the guests, because you have 2 guests coming into your house, Yeah, so I have an interesting question. So how has it been like to talk to these, Broadway shows from the other side of the table? You've been the one, representing the show at times in the general management office. How has it been like booking these shows and negotiating and doing the NAG boards and all that good stuff?
Oh Lordy. It's been fun. It's actually funny that our particular season this year was basically rescheduled from like 2020. So I
Right.
didn't really have a hand in bringing any of these shows in or really scheduling when they're going to be here. So this is actually just the second Broadway show since I've been at the Shubert, because we had
Okay.
one in October, and then this is now the second one that I'm now having to deal with.
Hmm.
I think for me, the learning curve is probably on the marketing side,
Okay.
understanding how much control they kind of want to have with
Mhm.
where we market, how we market, and the sort. So that's probably what's strange to me, because I would have believed or thought that we should be the area market. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, we should know our market better than anybody else. Full
Right.
stop. They
Right.
may know their show, but we should also know our market.
Hmm.
And so it should be a collaboration and or a trust factor of saying, all right, here are the assets.
Right.
You do what you're going to do.
Right.
They should be trusting us to know how to market in our own community.
Hmm.
When I look at some of these shows, for me wanting to increase the diversity that's coming into our building within the community,
Hmm.
I look at some of these shows that I know are diverse, like Beautiful, the Carole King musical,
Right.
knowing that half this cast is African Americans because Carole King wrote the music
Right.
for some of our popular Black artists back in the day.
Correct.
So there is really no Carole King without the music that she wrote for people like Aretha Franklin.
Arena. Yep.
You
Yep.
know, but in the assets, are they ever put front and center
Mm.
for me to be able to show them my
Right.
diverse community of Black and Brown people here?
Yeah.
That, hey, I know it's Carole King's story, but
Right. Right. This
do you
music.
recall?
Yeah.
And then having the assets that are created and to showcase that part of it as well, so that if I want to diversify my messaging to a more predominantly Black audience,
Hmm.
going through a local marketing partner
Correct.
who has that kind of connection to that audience, then
Yeah.
I want to show them that, so
Yeah.
that that's not being lost in the kind of communication that we're having.
And are you having that conversation with the tours and with the companies?
We haven't I haven't fully jumped myself into those
Okay.
conversations. I have told though my team that, look, if and when I want to do something that's different and they push back, then let me know that, so then I can jump in. Because at
Gotcha.
a certain point, if Broadway as a whole is trying to do better and
Yeah.
trying to attract finally and
Right.
make it a real effort to attract Black and Brown people to come to their shows,
Hmm.
then how are you going to now tell probably one of the very few Black and Brown people you're going to talk to that, oh,
Yeah.
you don't really want to, we don't think we should go to that audience, that we don't think they're going to come.
Right.
Don't
Right.
tell, first of all, don't tell us who's going to come to the show. One.
Right.
Two,
Right.
don't tell me that this audience doesn't want to see your show, because now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You
Hmm.
invite them, so they don't want to come.
You come. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. So you're relatively young to run an organization that looks like this. Also, most people who run organizations of this size and magnitude, especially like on the in the not-for-profit world, they're not Black and brown.
Mhm.
They're not a person of the global majority, as I like to say. What has that transition been like for you as a young Black male who has strong roots at Howard and who's Jamaican heritage to come to a area where this is not the norm and you're sitting in a seat of power?
It's been interesting,
Okay.
and but I also feel somewhat fortunate.
Hmm.
My CEO, who runs the parent company that technically owns the Shubert now,
Okay.
which is Kappa as well, but the Columbus Association for the Performing Arts, based out of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
He and I had very frank conversations during my interview process. So I didn't hide anything from him of what I was hoping and wanting to do.
Uh-huh.
And he also realized that in order for this theater to hopefully survive for the next 107 years, that something had to change as well. That we
Right.
had to try things differently and go in a different direction, because the person that came before me was in that particular position for about 22 years.
Wow.
So to now be in this position now, I thankfully feel fortunate that I have the support of my CEO,
Hmm.
I have the support of my board. Um, and the next part that kind of helps, I would say, that's not always uh, given to someone new coming in, is that when I came in, most of the staff was let go due to COVID.
Oh, wow.
So it was annoying, and it's still actually happening. But
Hmm.
while it was annoying to have to basically hire back a brand new team,
Yeah.
it was also a blessing in disguise, because once again, I now was able to kind of convey my vision to these people.
Yes. Yes.
I felt like they got it, slash
Hmm.
they also seemed like they wanted to help me make that vision come to reality by
Right.
providing their talents and their capabilities. Then now I don't need to fight people,
Right.
have them come around to understanding what I want to do. It's I handpicked you all.
Right.
You
Right.
forced me to be a part of this mission, to be a part of this team. So I'm not having to fight that other battle of, well, I have to convince people that they should trust me and blah blah blah. It's not built in, but it's a matter of, I obviously told them something that made them want to say yes,
Right.
because they believe in something that I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
So
Makes
to have
sense.
those three layers kind of in unison and in lockstep with me,
Hmm.
like I said, I'm fortunate, and I feel that anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool that you don't have the institutional crutch of those who know what happened 10 years ago. Oh, we tried that, it didn't work. Or we talked to that person, it didn't work. So yeah, I
Well,
get it.
I do have two people.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it's
One
still good to have
who,
that knowledge inside. It's good to have
yeah,
that knowledge inside as long as it's
and
not
it's
a
a balance,
crutch.
as you said. It's a
Yeah.
balance, because in the beginning, some of those folks did kind of try that or say that.
Gotcha.
And at a certain point, I said, look, I don't necessarily know what happened in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know how you all were marketing shows. I don't
Hmm.
know who you were talking to. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Right.
However, I don't care either,
Yeah.
because now I'm here.
Yeah.
And I got a brand new team around me.
Yeah.
So if I want to try something,
Yeah.
we're going to try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just get in line with what's happening here and do your part,
Right.
because I want to now see what works and what doesn't work. And after, like I said, having a brand new team around me, where we have somebody now who's focusing solely on group sales for the
Hmm.
first time, we
Nice.
have somebody who is really looking at the digital world and
Hmm.
who knows that world for the first time. Social media,
Yeah.
like these are things that were kind of there before, or thought about a little bit, but we never had really what I would consider experts in certain parts that could really hopefully lend us their expertise to
Hmm.
help grow this aspect of our business. Now that
Right.
we have those people here, that's what I mean by, I don't quite care what we got, what everyone did 10 years ago, because it's a new day,
Yeah. It is.
new
It is.
time, and now I'm here as well. So I'm hopefully getting people to try to say, let me give the Shubert a second chance.
Hmm.
I see that brother now there, and that's real different for the Shubert. So I
Right.
want to see now what they're going to do in the future.
Right. Question. So speaking of the future, what is the program or the idea that Anthony has that says this is how I'm going to leave my mark on the Shubert? Can you talk about any of that?
Yeah. There have been efforts in the past, I would say, to do this, and I think it's obviously everyone's goal. We It sounds like it's now a lot of people's goals now. Maybe it wasn't always everyone's goal before. But from the few shows that we've done this past 6 months, 4 months, what I continue to see is that there is a very healthy population of people in this community that are just being underserved.
Mm.
And underserved in the sense of the programming and the content that they feel like they can maybe connect to, and or showcasing the talent of this particular community.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, New Haven is literally comprised of about 30 to 35% people who are Black, 30 to 35% people who identify as in the Latinx community, and then another like 30-ish% of white people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very healthy mix
Yeah.
of basically
Mm-hmm.
all demographics in your community.
Right.
And when we have, the one black show,
Yeah.
maybe we can find one Latino show if we're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Most times the Asian community doesn't even get thought about.
Right.
And everything seems to kind of just cater to one demographic.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it's not surprising people forget about you.
Mm.
But in a community like ours, where 60+% are black and brown people, we can't give them one thing
Right. Right.
and be surprised then when they all come out all of a sudden, and it's like, who knew all these people existed? Well,
right.
if you gave us something a little more frequently, you would see that we would want to support you and we exist. So the vision for the future is kind of really just doubling down and really making sure that this isn't going to be something that is just done once or twice a year. But as I look at my programming, and if we, were to present, roughly 30 different things in categories of dance to music to theater to, non-language kind of theater, things like Blue Man Group and Stomp, things of that don't require someone to know English.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to finding the things that maybe are also done in a different language, whether it is Spanish, whether it is bringing, I just love saying that their name, Shen Yun. The idea is there are so many worlds that we could be presenting content in.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do that, then if we're going to be intentional, if it is 30 things and 5 things in these 6 different groups, I've said to my team that I want then at least half of those things to be that center around a person of color.
Gotcha.
So if we're going to do dance, we can do river dance.
Yeah.
We can do, I don't know, ABT.
Yeah.
And we also should be coupling those 2 shows with Ailey, with Africa, with Dance Theater of Harlem, Hispanico.
Yeah.
Those other companies then have to be included in that world of those 5 different things that we want to present in a season.
Yeah.
So where, once again, we're providing the programming for a community that actually exists, and that's what actually our community looks like.
I love it.
And then, once again, been doing that in all the different categories so that throughout the entire year, if a particular demographic wants to, once again, see themselves on stage and gets excited about content that comes from the worlds of an Ailey, or whether it's bringing in Cedric the Entertainer for comedy, then I want to be able to provide that kind of content and programming for them throughout the entire year, to where the end goal is that they don't have to go anywhere else.
Right.
Shubert Theater is providing them high quality entertainment throughout the entire year without them having to leave or drive more than 15 minutes to get to the theater.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And that's what I wish a lot of our larger organizations really focused on, instead of having what I call the token shows. Yeah.
I never knew anything about the ideology, and I won't say that I'm so perfect. I thought about it at one point for another group of people, but when I was talking with some of the bookers for, say, an Alvin Ailey kind of show, like February never even came to my mind. Like, it's so refreshing to be able to say, yeah, we can do this show in January.
Yeah.
Or we can do it in October.
Right.
Because so many people want to get them just in February.
Just in February.
History month.
Right.
And I was just like, huh? That's a thing?
July. Why not? Yeah.
Once again, I guess I was thinking in my head, just talent is talent. And it doesn't really matter when they come, it's just, can they fit into my world and my schedule?
Right.
What can I do for the Black people now in February?
Right.
What can I do for Latino people in Hispanic Heritage Month?
Right.
If something falls in the month, okay, then so be it.
Yeah.
But I'm not actively thinking necessarily,
programming towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day, did I think about bringing in some kind of Irish group? Okay, yes, I did. But I would think that in that sense of a day of celebration like St. Patrick's Day is, it's more about what can I then do for them to maybe end their night at my theater.
Right.
Have their fun in the daytime, and do they think of my place as the pub to spend all of their money at and buy lots of beer?
Right.
That way too.
That part too, for sure.
That's how I thought about it, which I guess once again maybe other people think of it the same way, that Black people want to be entertained in February only, so let's give them
Right.
stuff in February that's Black.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same thing, but I guess it's in the same thought process.
Right. Right. So how can we follow Anthony McDonald on social media?
Well, I would say you could definitely you could first off follow the theater itself. Most
Okay.
of our hands at Shubert New Haven,
Okay.
or Shubert Theater New Haven.
Okay.
I am on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Uh, I couldn't tell you my hand on Instagram right now.
I'll go and put it in the lower thirds.
But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's like my exec life or something like that, or I don't know, or maybe that's even Twitter. I can't say that I keep up on social media personally as often,
Okay.
because I like to believe that I'm actually just working, so I got other things to do than post. But then
Okay.
again, I was actually supposed to go live today at my theater,
Mm-hmm.
and but I decided, well, with the snow, I didn't feel like we were properly prepared to make sure that I wasn't talking to myself, that I
Gotcha.
was just going to hold off and do it maybe next month,
Okay.
instead, where we can have a better plan, a better thought process of what I'm going to do live. Because once again, as I have said to my team, though, let's use my youth while we can.
Right. Yeah.
My counterparts in the state are all a little older than me.
Yeah.
One gentleman is actually around my age, maybe 5 years older at the most. But I am not afraid of social media, though. That's the difference. I may not use it frequently, but it's not because I don't know how to use it. I just don't have the time for it. But for the business,
Yeah.
let's use me. Let's put me out there. Let's do things that my colleagues are not doing necessarily, to just drum up excitement for what we're doing.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. Well, congrats again for being almost at a year. Super proud. Anthony was I call him my big little brother. So Anthony was a year above me at Columbia. But of course I'm the older one. So yeah. So congrats. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're gonna play a quick game called This or That. So Anthony, I'm gonna give you two scenarios, two words, two phrases, two ideas, and you just let me know which one you resonate with more. Got it?
All right, sounds good.
Gonna start off super easy, okay? Super easy. Um, New York pizza or LA tacos?
I can't say I had LA tacos, so New York pizza.
Okay, okay, okay. New York pizza it is. Would you rather attend a big party or a small gathering?
Sadly, in my slightly old life, probably a small gathering.
Okay, okay. Why is that small gathering?
I guess I can connect people a little bit more, and
Okay.
it's not going to hopefully be as loud, because I
Okay.
just now when things are too damn loud, and I ain't got time for that.
You're getting old. You're getting old. Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey?
Whitney Houston.
Why Whitney?
Don't ask me that question.
Just because. Okay. Okay. I'm cool with that.
It's Whitney. That's why.
Okay. It's Whitney. It's Whitney hands down. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Denzel Washington or Tay Diggs?
Denzel.
Why Denzel?
He's one of the GOATs.
Yeah.
I appreciate Tay.
Yeah.
Actually met him at a show. He's cool people. But Denzel.
Gotcha. Gotcha. $1 million in cash or $1 million home?
Cash.
Why the cash?
Because I can do a whole lot more, and I don't need $1 million home and the taxes that go with it.
Okay. Okay. So practical. So practical.
Always think about that money.
Yeah. Last one. If you had a superpower, would you rather be able to fly or be invisible?
That's a good one. I think everybody always probably likes to be able to fly, but I'd probably say to be invisible,
Why be invisible?
so that I can, especially for what I do, I would like to then be in places where I can hear honest feedback and opinions without people knowing that I'm hearing it. Of course, it's about me sometimes, and
Right.
that's okay. So I can know people's true feelings and thoughts about me.
Okay.
But Yeah, the idea would be to kind of just be able to be in places where I can hopefully learn and grow, where I may not always be allowed to be in that room for
Gotcha.
whatever reason. But yeah, I think that would be kind of a cooler thing
Okay.
overall.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. See, that was easy. This or that right there. Yo, everybody, make sure you go check out Anthony McDonald. Make sure you follow Shubert New Haven. If you're ever up in the Connecticut area, if you live in the Connecticut area, go be a supporter, be a member, whatever money you have. They are not for profit. Give your money to them. They needed this. Brother's trying to do some amazing things at that theater. I'm super excited to have him as one of our 40 under 40. Anthony, thank you, man, for sure.
Thank you, Giles. I appreciate you thinking of me. I thank you for giving me some time today, and I wish you all the best as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, everybody, this has been another episode of 40 Under 40, powered by Urban Arts Magazine. I'm your host, Giles, and we'll see you next time. Peace.